Hello again, traders, and welcome out. This is Ankit from Currencies here, and welcome to our currency recap for Monday, December the 5th. Let's get into it. Let's talk about market outlook. Let's talk about what we discussed in the currency room, and make sure you watch that video first because it gives you a context of what we are looking at this week. So let's do a quick market analysis and see how market kind of moved so far today. And today was a bit of a risk-off day in the market. So we talked about briefly where we are in the overall markets. We are at a technical standpoint where markets are just at a point where it wants to break out one way or the other. And again, at this point, we are at this solid downward trend line that we are trying to break out of. So we need a catalyst for that, and we don't have a catalyst until next week. Then we get the US CPI. So let's see what happened today. Today, you can see that the markets started off with a much negative note, and again, a contrast to what we saw on Friday. Friday, we saw the markets ignored the pullback and it just rallied towards the end of the day. So we're just starting off with a bit of a pullback today. So the market, again, looks a little bit weaker to me, but overall, the markets are still moving higher. So again, I won't be surprised if we just kind of go sideways in this range for the next week. I think that's the outlook that we had, that where markets are a bit of a cross point here, and we probably see some sort of consolidation before we break out one with the other. So that's what we are in the equity markets, and same thing in the global markets, the World Stock Index. You can see we're kind of stuck in this little range here, and where we expect markets to be in the next few days. Now, looking at the crypto markets, a bit of a little reversal candle here today. Again, cryptos are not the place where I think I have the strongest hold of, because we get these abrupt movements here and there. But again, I think the cryptos are definitely an interesting point to be in. But outside of that, there's definitely good market price action to be. As we take a look at the market outlook, we are still at a +2. Again, we are above the 20, above the 50. But you've got to keep in mind that we are up against a very solid the 200-day moving average. And the last two times when we rallied to that line, we actually rolled over. We did that back in March, and we did that back in August. So if you want to look at the charts, we were exactly at the same point as we are right now, and trying to figure out which way market's going to go. So I think the CPI is really what's holding the key here, and probably help the markets to break out one with the other, and that will actually just be the trend for the rest of the year in the next couple of weeks. So if we take a look at the schedule this week, again, this week also it has a bit of a busy schedule. We can take a look at it tonight. We have the RBA rate statement. We have the Aussie GDP tomorrow, and then on Wednesday we have the Bank of Canada rate statement as well. So we have two the banks rate statement today. So this week, so we'll have to kind of see if what kind of price action we get so far. We are not really getting a whole lot of movement on the upside on the Aussie. CAD was very muted today. So let's do a quick currency analysis and see where the price action was and where we need to focus on. So starting with the cryptocurrency here, if you take a look at it overall, again, not a broader gain across the board. Only shining part of this crypto world right now, and has been for the past few weeks, is Litecoin. Outside of the Litecoin, you can see Bitcoin is not really performing. Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum was down. So is the XRP and ADA. So not a whole lot of strength that we can talk about across the board there. But when we take a look at currency market, again, this is where, look at the movement today. We had a nice 1.8% move in the dollar yen. And we talked about how dollar yen has been swinging wildly one way or the other. Again, in the past few days or past month, I would say we have seen the very hefty correction in dollar yen, almost hitting at 150 down to 133, 134. So nice little rally here. We have to kind of wait and see if this movement in the dollar today, it was a nice dollar move today, if that is going to last, or is this just going to be in this little consolidation phase where it goes up and down. We'll talk about we'll take a look at technical charts here in a bit, and we'll talk about where we are, because again, the dollar is at a very interesting technical point. A lot of the currencies are sitting at a very interesting technical point here. So again, keep an eye on the dollar yen. I think that's really where we can find the most negative divergence. Outside of that, the euro and the Swiss franc was actually kind of positive today. We had the pound just leading that, and look at that, where the weakness was. Aussie and Kiwi. Kiwi is really the sticky point here again. I've talked about Kiwi at some extreme levels as sitting at, and so is the CAD. So Kiwi did pull back, CAD did not rally. So there's a bit of a muted sort of price action here in the CAD, which again, usually if we take a look at the way CAD has been moving, with the dollar gains, CAD gains with it. Today, that was not the case. So why is that divergence? Is something really changed in the CAD? Something we had to take a look at. But again, if you take a look at technical standpoint, they're sitting at the exact same point as the dollar and the CAD is doing. So if we take a look at velocity score, and outside of this, the velocity for the cryptos, which is kind of sitting in the middle there, we have a bit of a change. We have the dollar that moved from a very negative to positive, and we have the yen move from positive to negative. So, considering, we'll take a look at dollar yen chart and see what kind of movement we can expect. But, is this a reversal today that would carry on for the next few days? Again, something we have to kind of take a look at because we had a nice little turnarounds on the daily chart. So that's where we'll spend a little bit more time taking a look at the daily charts. Aussie and Kiwi pull back, and then again, CAD is right in the middle there. We can't really say CAD is ready to fall further because I think it's really at a technical standpoint where CAD can really bounce as well, just the same thing as dollar did. We just don't know the timing of it. Today was a perfect timing for it. Maybe we'll have to wait till Wednesday when we get the Bank of Canada rate statement, but right in the middle there. And then here we are, Euro Swiss franc. Remember, Euro is not really following a trend. It's more in the sideways range. So we had a positive day in the Swiss franc and positive in the Euro, but trend score are not that strong in these ones. So maybe these are more on day-to-day movements, but we might not find a consistency in that move. So let's just jump into possible trades. Let's take a look at some charts and then talk about some technical setups. All right, so let's just start with the dollar. And again, dollar on a daily chart, you can see that very nice little rally that we had. The 200 moving average held for the US dollar. Everything was looking pretty weak, and again, nice little movement here. So the question is this it's a bullish engulfing candle? Can we expect further rise in that? I think at this point we can just expect that the 20-day moving average is going to be tested. If there's a follow through to it, which again, a very nice candle here. This is a resistance point. I think if we can get above it, we can easily test this level, that's exactly where the moving average is. So I think you got to be careful in the next 24 hours. You should try to short the dollar. I think maybe the short-term momentum has shifted here. Look at that on the dollar on a 4-hour chart. So I really like to use the 4-hour chart so we can keep track of the relative strength and weakness. Again, we are right at the 20, the 50 moving average. I think at this point, we can expect a bit of a pullback here and then see if we can charge right through it. So at this point, if you're trying to go long the dollar, I think expect this moving average to break. If you're looking to short the dollar, I think at this point there's a wide range. There's a more risk for a dollar to rally than to fall over. We also had the ISM numbers that came out today that was much better than expected. So that's actually fueling too some of this rhetoric of the dollar because the numbers are strong. This is not really setting up a case for a soft landing. And again, the markets, remember, the good news is bad news for the markets and bad news is good for the news for the market. So that's exactly what's going on here. On the other hand, the yen, if you take a look at the chart, it has pulled back nicely. And I think at this point, it looks more weaker to me here. So maybe this is where we're trying to figure out. Look at the rejection right at the 200 moving average. And look at the daily chart. The daily candle is much bigger than the previous one. So we got a bearish engulfing candle. So, at this point, it looks like the yen wants to continue moving lower and the dollar wants to continue moving higher. So that seems to be the case here based on the daily chart. Now, let's take a look at some of the other currencies. Swiss franc, like I said, on a daily chart, they don't look the greatest. They had a nice still update today, but there's no guarantee that it will continue forward. Moving averages are flatlined. This thing is not really moving in a systematic fashion. So just always set your expectations accordingly if you're looking for a follow through. Same thing goes with the euro. I would be interested in euro over here, especially if it does break above this consolidation phase. So I think I'll be looking at this on this daily chart. But again, until then, not really looking to buy this here until we get a confirmation on this breakout. But if the dollar stays strong, then I think at this point, we might not get that breakout because we need the dollar to pull back for a euro to clear out to the upside. Now, British pound British pound looks similar. Again, looks much better here. It looks like it wants to run higher. Getting some wicks over here at the top, but I mean, at this point, we're cleared above all the moving averages, so it seems like the pound looks relatively better. Again, 4-hour chart, if you take a look at it, I mean, this thing is moving higher. So again, depending on what you want to pair with, pound looks like it wants to run higher. So let's talk about some of the key technical levels. Here we are with a CAD, and I want to show where the CAD is. I mean, this is a very remarkable sell-off that we have seen in the CAD basket. And again, I mean, if you take a look at a lot of these levels, I mean, we literally kind of gave up all the grounds that we had this year in the CAD just in a short period of time. So I don't know, whenever we get this very quick move, short-term move, sometimes it does bounces back. Again, this is a very key level. We spent all 2021 and early 22 trying to break above it, and we did. At this point, I think I expect some sort of support coming in here as well. So today's market price action was not encouraging. And I think if you take a look at 4-hour chart, this was just a bear rally. So what we need to see, exactly what we saw in the dollar, we need to see making a lower high, making a higher high and a higher low. And at this point, you can see just made a bit of a higher high from this level and above the 20 to 50 to moving average. Canadian dollar is still below the 20, below the 50. So it needs to get above today's high to really spark a rally. So I'm not sure if this will happen in the next 24 hours, but maybe for Bank of Canada rate statement on Wednesday, we can kind of set some expectations for it. But today or tonight, the big focus is going to be the Aussie and the Kiwi. And again, Aussie and Kiwi, I also want to highlight where we are in the grand scheme of things, because you can see how much the Aussie and Kiwi has diverged in the past few weeks. I mean, take a look at the daily chart on the Kiwi. Kiwi has ran into some serious run and a resistance here. I mean, it's kind of mind-boggling to see the run that we have seen in just a short period of time, because we didn't go down in this quick fashion. I mean, we went down. It was like a 5 or 6% move. As this rally came, this is a 8.27%. So very strong rally across the board. So I think by this point, you can see we have a serious resistance where we are running into. So today's price action hasn't really fallen back below it, but today was the one that really put a bit of a short-term stop on this. On a 4-hour chart, we are kind of moving below this moving average. So at this point, I don't want to be aggressive on the Kiwi, because if you look at the counterpart, the Aussie looks more weaker. But if that flips, and again, that's where you have to pay attention to the Aussie Kiwi. If that flips, then I can favor Kiwi over the Aussie. But right now, as you can see, Aussie is favoring more to the downside than Kiwi. I also want to highlight that the levels that we are at are very extreme levels. So for example, if I have to take a look at, let's go back to the velocity chart here. Let's take the Aussie Kiwi. I mean, and that's, I think, the issue here with these some of these currency pairs. I mean, look at how negative they are in the RSI. I mean, a lot of times in the past, you can see these very ultra negative areas has been the turning point for Aussie Kiwi. The question is, are we turning the Aussie Kiwi here? I mean, at this point, it doesn't look like it, but we have to kind of wait and see in the next 24 hours, especially with the RBA tonight, and see if we can get some sort of rally or some sort of break. But I mean, at this point, we are right at this level here. I mean, we rallied early today, so it looked like, hey, maybe on the shorter term phase, it's ready to have a short term rally. But I mean, you can see that the rally was sold all day today. So RBA again will be the one that will be focusing on, and then trying to determine if the Aussie Kiwi, which one looks the best here. So that's really the focus here. So let's get back into our plan for next 24 hours. Again, markets are likely consolidated here, and the RBA rate statement is due tonight, so make sure you're watching that. Again, this week is not the week where you want to be really heavy hitting hard, because we have a lot of these big movements that are likely to happen after next week. I think everybody's kind of waiting for that. In between, there will be opportunities, but I think the big movers will be next week. So that's the game plan. Focus on relative center weakness, and we'll be meeting tonight again live for RBA race statements. So make sure you register for it, and we'll see you all tonight in the class, and hopefully you can catch a good trade off of it. Thanks for joining. Have a good evening. Cheers.